Hey guys, my name is Nogan, and welcome to my genetic algorithm episode. Um, so in today's episode 5, we also going to be focusing on analyzing a program eventually in C++. So if you guys haven't watched the previous episodes, I'll link a card on top there for the previous one that I uploaded it's been 3 weeks ago. So that one we focus on writing another program for a specific content of analysis. In this video now again, we are touching on another question eventually in C++. So basically, excuse me. Basically here we have now question number 2. Now this question is focusing on structures in C++. If you don't know what are structures, I have a video on my C++ channel there about structures in C++, a introduction to what is a structure, and also like what is a next structure in C++, and how you can use structure or the struct keyword in C++ to organize your variables or functions into one um, entity or components. Now, in this episode today, we are focusing on analyzing this program here. So, if we analyze this, let's first get the content of what's going on here. So, the statement says now, write a program that reads students' names followed by the test score. Which means you have to write the program that does for read needs to read students' names and also followed by the test score. Again, this is the program should output each student's name, very important, followed by the test score, which means these must be conventional, and also the relevant grade of the student also. And after it also speaks about now, you should also find and also print the highest test score of the student and also their name of the student having the highest test score. Awesome. So that's like basically the first statement in the question. Now again speaks about now like what is happening eventually, gives now the information about what happened. So the student data should be stored in the struct variable of type. The name of the struct is going to be now student type eventually, and also which has 4 components, which is going to be student F name for first name, student L name for last name, but also the type needs to be of type string, and also test score of type int, and also test score needs to have certain conditions, which means between 0 and also 100. So fundamentally this gives you about like what is happening. It also speaks about now in grade of type character, which means the grade also must be a character type for the student. Now suppose the class is 20 students. 20 is also a variable focusing on using now an array of 20 components for the type of student type eventually. Awesome. So guys, based on the content we've been given here, so the program needs to do 2 things eventually from this, but it give us like a hint like what type of structure to use, the name of the structure, and also like the type of components that needs to be included in the structure keyword also, as a means of organizing all your variables into one structure. Now, what is important is the following here. It speaks about your program. Your program must contain these following information here. So these are very critical here. These are important here. Very important. So basically, it speaks about now the following here. As you can see, the first bullet point now here. The first here speaks about now in A speaks about a function that reads the student's data into an array. The second speaks about in B speaks about a function that assigns the relevant grade to each student. The third bullet point speaks about now here a function to find the highest test score. The last one speaks about now here a function that to print the names of the students having the highest test score. So guys, what is important is that we're going to have 4 functions now being defined in this program here. 4 functions being defined in our structure, as you'll see in a moment when you write the code. And also what is important is the following, very important. Your program eventually now must output each student's name in the form of the following. The last name, followed by a comma, and followed by a space also, followed by a first name, and also the name must be justified. So this is just like basic information about how to make sure now your output of the program is much more satisfying. But what is important is following here. Moreover, other than declaring the variables and opening the inputs, this is very important also here. Very, very important. It says that the main function should only be the collection of call functions, means function calls, which means in the main function there must be only function calls. When you call the functions, there mustn't be any declarations, any variables in the main functions by definition. It mustn't be there. Okay, guys, so based from our question, let's jump to the source code now. Awesome. As you can see now, we have a basic standard output here, program here of C++. Now, what I'm going to write now here, I'm going to declare now eventually based on the information there, a struct. I'm going to say struct keyword. Now, the struct doesn't have a student type name. Also. Now, also again, we need to declare few variables also here. The few variables or the few components being defined in the instruction are being given by that, which means before it can be declared eventually here, we need to also include a keyword called string. So let's include not keyword header file, string. Okay. Now this header file string contains string predefined functions and also variable declarations we can use eventually in our program right now. If you don't know what is a string keyword header file, I have also a video about C++ about strings in C++ and how you can define them, also use them there. I'll link a few videos on top there, so check it out. Now I'm going to say the string keyword, say student f name based on component name conventions, string again, student elf name for last name. And also we have an int variable for test score, and also character for grade. Awesome. So we have 4 components now being defined here. Now the following is very important. We need to also have a few functions. Now what is important about this, or what is interesting about this eventually, is the following. We can try to define our functions inside the structure to make it much more nicer, or we can define them outside. This example we define in here, say void read student data. So right now we're defining a structure. We define our structure. Let's say student. So basically, eventually, we define now a function in here. We didn't give it we declared a function here. We didn't give it any body by definition, which means we'll declare this function now in this content of the structure here. Now again, let's declare another function also, because right now what I want to do, I want to make the program much more sufficient by saying we declare a few functions that can be used now or being defined outside the class, outside the structure eventually of the student type, so we can try to implement those key information about it eventually. So for after this, I'm going to say void again, assign grades. So what's happening right now here, we're going to use the structured like student type struct name as a means of creating an object. It means the object name will be now student, as is seen in the read student data function, and also here will be student also here. Let's make it the students. Yeah, students, not students, students also. So here, int function highest score, test score. Right. Also gonna have a const student type students again. So eventually we're declaring now a variable here of type array. So type array, which means these student now class object name eventually here, object name here of structure, then we're going to create now a new data type, which eventually is called student type, that we can use to define now or declare a object of type student of type array, as you can see here. Let's declare another function again. Void student test score. It's also a const student type object, and a variable name is students as an array parameter. And also int, and take another height, let's go. Means an argument. Awesome. Okay, so guys, we declared now 4 functions now being defined declared in the structure. Student type struct name, so which means we have to define these now outside the structure eventually of student type. So outside here, I'm gonna just say again void read student data. Okay, so after this now, let's also declare the student an array variable. Awesome. Now we're gonna focus on trying to give now this function of void here a definition eventually. So the following now is very important here based on this implementation. But as you can see, something is very questionable here. Currently we see no errors here, and this function definition has not been found as of yet, which means we haven't defined this thing as of yet as a function definition, which is interesting. Okay, so which means, as you can see, sorry, based on what you're seeing here, the function of read student data hasn't been identified or been defined. So if you stand here, it says now function definition for read student data not found. So what does it mean? It means that now by definition, the function of void here read student data has been given a body. Even though giving a body outside the structure student type scope eventually, but now outside of it eventually it doesn't been recognized or identified as having a body. So if you go to the void keyword here, just type down here student type, and also use now the scope resolution operator. Just use this commas here, not commas, the scope resolution operator here. Justify by saying we're going to eventually declare now this read student data here as a means of now having a definition of body, as you can see here. Okay, same applies to the following also. I'm going to just say also here now void student type again, scope resolution operator, and also go to assign grades, give this now parentheses student type again, students array the body. Awesome. Same applies to the other functions also. I'm going to close it. I'll do the int height score. So I'm using int student type at score. Say student again. Awesome. But the thing about this function here, remember, these 2 functions are void functions. Now, void functions doesn't have a return type. If you don't know what is a void function or what is a void function or a value returning function like these 2, I have also a video now in my C++ playlist about value returning functions in C++. Link out on top there, also going to check it out because there I speak about what is a void function and also what is a value returning function is this one. Now, a value returning function like this one of int student type needs to have a return type by definition, which means you have to return here a value. I'm just return here, let's just say 0. Say 0. Okay. Now, highest test score also here needs to eventually. Let me look at the declaration of this also. Okay, it's a const, which means a const variable. Also, you need to include also const keyword. Awesome. Now, let me also give this void function now, print student type, and again. And also take the const student type students array, and also int highest score. Awesome. Okay, guys, basically now we have defined our four functions that have been declared now in the scope of this structure here. Now, what's important is the following here. Each of these functions will contain a functionality. It does something very key. So basically now in the body of the first function here, I'm declaring now all the properties or the functionalities that this function needs to do eventually as a means of implementation. So in this function here, I'm gonna just do the following things here. I'm gonna just say because remember, we need to eventually read the data based on a question also here. We need to do the following, which means we need to read the data into an array. Now the array is a class of 20 students eventually. And also the thing that's missing also, we have to declare also a const variable, a global variable. On top here, I'm gonna just say global variable. I say const keyword int number of students with 20. Awesome. When I use a global variable now, here's a means of now because we can have an array of 20 elements or 20 students, which means contains 19 elements or indexes. Now, based on that, eventually here, when I just say now as a means of implementation, say okay, there must be a for loop where we use a for loop to eventually iterate each time, and also input all those students' data into a form of using a for loop as a means of now inputting those reading the data of the students into an array. You must say for loop. Okay, int I. I'm gonna just say start the index number from 0. I'm gonna just say here the number of students is gonna be our condition, which means a variable now you can compare with me. Okay, based on this eventually, let's do this. Okay, based on this eventually here, which means int we're gonna start from I. The index of this array will start from 0. It's the first index until here, which means it will iterate from 0 until 19, because now based on the condition here, I is less than this value here, which is going to be 20 and displayed there. You're going to increment using this increment operator here every time. Now in the body of this, I'm going to say cout here. So the student has to enter, he's going to enter your first name. Okay, let me just say enter student first name. First name. Excuse me. And also here, we use the cin operator to get input. I'm going to be student. Student. Index of I. And also here, when I use now the dot operator, get all those functionalities from there. So when the student needs to first enter his name, so which means when I use this to get now eventually the student's information from there, because remember we declared eventually now here. If this is a little bit confusing, let me clarify this. This student type here is a new type, data type, which means we're creating an object of this student type called student as students eventually, which is a form of an array. Now this students is an object now of the student type here. That's why this students array variable can now try to use all those variables being defined or declared in the scope of this. As you can see, that's why you see here we can use this dot operator to get now the student name, f name from that eventually. So after this, I'm going to say cout again. Now enter student last name. Let me just make it much more nicer. Also, let's make this into uppercase. Let me make it like this. Okay, awesome. Make this also awesome. Then I say I see him again. you're going to say after this also, you're going to say students again, index I, automatically get now the last name is student. Awesome. Here again, enter. Student, okay. Alright, dot again. Get now eventually test score for the student's first name. And also students again. This last name. Awesome. So after it now, let's also include the scene, which means get all those inputs and stuff. And say students again, students, variable name, and array type. Again, dot. Let's go. Awesome. So this is now eventually happening now basically based on this function, which means we can use a for loop to eventually get all those information about the students eventually from there. Now jumping to the second function here. The second function eventually just assigns now the grades of the students eventually from that implementation. So basically you want to say, so you also use a for loop again, int type again. Also going to be having the number of students is a form of now condition comparison here. Sorry. Now in this for loop, when I have a few segments, but in here right now, when I have a few if segments, now I have to compare the range of, because based on the segment here, the test score is between 0 to 100, which means it was compared that as a means of now argument, which means between 0 and also 100 is where each student's grade or test score will be eventually. But for number of students for number of 20 students based on this. So students will have like 71, 70, 81, 80, 90s and stuff, which means their test score will vary between the range of 0 to 100. Okay, awesome. Now back in the program here, I'm going to say if. Now if eventually now in here I'm going to say now student again, I again, students dot, what am I doing, dot, test score, which means test score is less than or equal to 90, which means it's a first comparison, first condition. So if it's so, which means in the body of the if statement now something has happened, which means students again dot grade, which means his grade is assigned to a character, which is going to be eventually a character of because it's not going to be 19 above, it's going to be 8. Excuse me, sorry. Now else if student test score again greater than or equal to 80, then here students dot operator grade and assign to B. Else if students again dot test score, it's also now greater than or equal to 70, which means the range starts from there. Then students again here to the grade and eventually initialize to C. And else if again So you guys get the idea, which means we need to have a comparison between the where each students fall in this category. So it will be now from 60. Awesome. Students again. Great. Awesome. Now else, this is now by default. Now by default here, eventually the students grade eventually is going to be justified by having F failure, which I'm sorry if you between this range you failed the module, which is unfortunate. Okay, so basically this is what's happening right now here. So basically this for loop now contains if statements as a means of the arguments by saying from this range or from 0 until 100, as you see in the question actually here, that the student needs to be justified by saying each student eventually will have a grade weight false in the category. Now in this function of now the highest test score, let's jump in here. In here, we can also try to justify excuse me, few things. We'll declare also a local variable in here and also try to initialize it eventually. After that, we'll try to use also for loop again as a means of an argument. So here I'm going to say int again highest test score student initialize index of 0 dot test score. Awesome. So after that, let's say for loop int type. Also going to say here number students again. Awesome. Now in the body of this for loop also here, we'll have an if statement again. If statement if eventually now student I the test score is greater than highest test score is of course interesting. So there's our argument. Then in the body of this, in the body you set the optimization, which means now at highest test score will be initialized eventually will store now the highest test score of the student here, which means we're passing it, storing it there. So whatever happens now, which means if by default this highest test score here variable will have by default a value here. So the value could be any value. It could be 10, it could be 5, it could be 40, whatever. Depending on that is gonna be displayed. But also the if statement will only be true if the index eventually, let's say it's gonna be 5, 4, or 3. The test score index eventually, if it's higher than the test score, then the highest test score eventually variable here will eventually store the highest test score in there as a means of an argument to be displayed. Now outside the for loop here, in the return variable here, I'm gonna remove this 0 and return eventually now the highest score variable. Awesome. Okay, so now in the last function, in the print function, we're gonna also do some sort of operations that we have to print the student's highest test score eventually. So now in here, I'm gonna just say cout student with the highest test score be highest test score okay. So we also have for loop here, for loop. Okay, so now we have to also now call our functions. There must be function calls only in the main function. And in the main function, only function calls. Now in here, I'm going to call the functions. I'm going to just call the read student data students variable like this. Okay, so something is off, guys, here. As you can see, basically in the main function here, the identifier now is an issue here, which means unidentified. It doesn't identify this function eventually being declared in that scope of student type. So based on this, you have to resolve this very quickly. Okay, so basically right now, based on this issue that is displayed here, let's try and resolve this. Okay, in front of the name of the function here, I'm going to say student type again. Okay, so we're using this student type eventually to justify by saying we're calling this function now in the main function here. So it will be student data here, and remove these. Okay, a non-static member of reference must be related to a specific object. Okay, the object now is of this type student here, as you can see, but something is off. We're having an error. Excuse me, an error being displayed here. So in terms of this, it speaks about needs to be specified type of object, the object name. The object now, we say the object name here is students, but now it's taking a form of a variable here, as you can see, of the student, the number of students eventually will be displayed there. Okay, so basically we're having an error here. So now let me just try and remove this eventually now. Let's say students everything operator with data, and also students again also. Okay, so this eventually should fix the error eventually, where it's going to be passed by this. Why is the given error here? Let me look at the function definition here. Student type students is okay. Also here, okay. I don't see any errors. Okay. Why is it giving me still errors? Okay, non-static member reference must be relative to the specific object of students. But why is it giving error? It's interesting. Okay, the students variable takes 20 elements, like being defined as a local variable. Okay. But why is it still giving an error? Where is it going? Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, the analyze right now also again. Okay, so basically what I'm seeing in this is not just a fabric is now. Look at this, guys. We have eventually been defined a type eventually, which means student type is a class. It's almost like a structured data type eventually now. The object name is called student. So basically what is happening is that we need to define here another student type object called student, only student, like this, and use this eventually to now try to define by saying we can get these functions, because I mean it's much more it simplifies things by using that image argument and stuff. So because now we can use it by saying if I remove this and say students again, or it's just student name, object name dot, I can get now that function can pass students like this. Awesome. The reason why this works is because remember, this eventually makes an object of student type also from the scope here, and in here we define now eventually a function called read student data. So it's much more easy to use that, get this the read student data function, but calling it with this argument here of students basically here specifies it. So after this, I will say students again, dot get all other functions. Then again now assign grades. Also take students argument. Things again. Dot again. You can also get the int highest test score. It's gonna be highest test score. So highest test score, yeah, highest test score. Students also. And also gonna take students again, student again, and take the print. Also keep this an argument. Awesome. But no, still need to also include here. Okay, so we need to define also here a means of an argument. So remember, there must be another variable also you can use also means of taking input. So basically now here, just declare now int highest test score, highest test score. Test score means a function. So to take that means an argument. Okay. I'm going to take this student test score here, paste it here. But now I need to take it from here, copy and paste it because now I need to take this as an argument. Okay, then we can see the highest test score. Test score. What am I doing? So highest score means an argument or way. Do that now, it is on point. Awesome. Okay, so guys, basically based on this right now, if we just run this and see what is our output eventually from this, let me check something. Okay, so if I run this, okay, so let's say the first name of the student is going to be, or the first student will be Ronnie Williams. Now he got, let's say, got 86. Okay, enter the student's first name again. Okay, so which means we need to have how many students there? 3 of them. So there's 20 students going to be there. There's a lot of students. So here I'm going to say Peter Sam got 74. Then Lisa Morgan, he got 61. Then we have Ava Peterson. Ava Peterson got 25. We have Michael Lamb got 55. So we're going to input all those students now, guys, here, all of them. You can see the output. This here is now Adam Sam also got 41. We have now G Smith got 63. We have now let's say Lucas. Let's say Luke. Lucas. Let's just say Lee. Thompson. He got 78. Let's say Sam Smith. Okay. Doreen Morgan. She got 6. We got now Roshna Williams. 89. Rowland Williams. He got 96. Then we have Chris Williams. Okay, he got 45. And we have now again William William, Meg, God 55, Lisa, Bob 24. How many students we have here? This is interesting. This has to be 20 students. It's gonna be 1, 2. There's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, almost there. 15. Let's say Max Smith. 2, N Smith. 1. Let's say Sarah Smith. Ryan Morgan. It is 1906 also. Let's say Lyle Morgan. 3. Okay. Now this is happening here. So students with the highest test score, it's eventually this, which is of course ugly. We don't need this. So output eventually here is not nice. So let's look at the program and see what's happening also here. Okay, so guys, based on the output is not justifiable, which means something is off. But now let's look at something about the main function, because now it looks like in the main function here, based on our initialization, eventually we're saying student type is the new object name, the new object type, the user type, and also student now becomes our type, which means student is object now of this student type. And of course, based on implementation now here, we have an array of elements of number of students eventually. So basically the implementation is all, because look at this here, we eventually now hit int highest score, which means initializing the highest score before, and it's wrong because why? The student reads student data must be first, because you first have to read the student's data inside the array before we can just try to assign a higher score here. So this implementation is off here. So to make it much more sufficient and much more like nice and stuff, because what I'm gonna do right now, I have to just change a few things here, because based on the implementation like I mentioned before, read student must be the first thing to happen before anything else. So basically now here, if I just remove this, so based on our student type and also number of students here, is a form of array. After this, we need first to read the data first of the student, which means student dot operator. So if we first read the student's data first in the array, so we can have all the information about the student. Okay. So after this, because now after this, you have to also focus on trying to assign eventually the correct values of course of students, which means assigning the grade of students, which means students again. Awesome. Now after we can try to assign now the int the highest score. Okay, so this student again. Dot by the highest test score. It takes students. Awesome. Now after the students, you have to put those information being displayed in that visualization, means students score. Here means the students again, and also the highest score of the student. Awesome. So based on this change of implementation, the main function, it's simple like this. Now what is happening right now here, we're just trying to see, okay, now in line 101, which means first read the student's data in the form of an array. Now afterwards we try to assign also the grade now that is relevant to the student's information. After that, we're going to say, okay, now we want to print out the highest test score of the student eventually being displayed now in here in this function here. So after that, we're gonna have to print this as a means of an output to see the students, the highest test score of the students eventually from this array here, and also the value of the student, like the student name, and also now the value of the student, which means how much you got. So based on that implementation now here, or change of the main function here, so let's just run this and see now, and also input this information again. Awesome. Let's now say, let's say Ronnie again. First name Williams. Is about 86. Then begin Peter. First name Sam. Alright. 24. Lisa. First name Morgan. Port 861. Then we have Ava. First name Peterson. Port 95. Okay. Then we have Michael Lamb. Got 55. Right. Then Adam Sam. Last name. Got 31. Interesting. Then you got again G Smith. Got 63. Awesome. Then you have Lee Thompson. Lee Thompson got 78. Also Sam Smith got 23. And we have Urine. My mom's name. Urine Morgan got 56. Also Roshna Williams, she got 89. And also Rona Williams also, we got 96. Persian Williams got 35. You have William Meg. It's Meg. Yeah, Meg. You got how much? You got 55. Lisa again. But now it's Lisa Bob. Got 74. Almost done. Max again. Max Smith. 22. Han Smith. Got 41. Sarah Smith. 22. Ryan Morgan. Got 96. And Lyle Morgan. She got also 96. Now let's look at something interesting here. Press enter. Okay. So basically we have a number of students eventually, as you can see here. Students with the highest test score of 96 is Williams, Morgan, and also Lyle. It's interesting. But now something is also off here. Very off. Okay, so based on what I'm seeing with you guys, everything is on point, but something is off here. Because we didn't see any grade being displayed also for those students, fundamentally. We need to find a systematic way of fixing it. If we go back to this function of assigning grades, it's very fundamental. So when you get here, we need to assign also a grade. Initially, when the students have highest grade, it must be the highest test score, there must be a grade to say, no, this guy got the highest in his A or A plus. So the fundamental principle of grading him now gives much more clarity about now where he stands. So we need to modify now the initialization here. So in the struct type structure here, okay. So in here now, let's come here and toggle to this function called void sign grades. Okay, let's modify this function declaration out here to also comment for one more parameter. I'm going to say int highest score, right? So when we did this here, or like modified this, also comment for the highest test score, we need to also come to assigning here eventually by saying int highest score. Awesome. So when we have that now, it's a means of implementation. Okay, we're gonna go to the main function. So after this here, I'm also gonna add another if statement again. If student again, just to make it much more sufficient, because something doesn't add up. It's a means of giving clarity. So dot test score again. We need to have all those students who got the highest test score to be displayed eventually. So should be highest score. Then we're gonna say now student okay the grade. Okay, awesome. So when we have this now in the main function here, also here, because you're getting students higher test score also, so we're just gonna move these to see highest test score. Okay, because this is initialized before, we cut this. Okay, now based on these changes, guys, here, let's run this and see what's happening again. Are we getting there? Awesome. Okay, so let's try and see now eventually from our modification of our implementation, are we getting something much more consistent and stuff? So when you say run again, Williams. Okay, so you guys know eventually that I'm gonna have to type all these things again here. It means of like showing you guys this. So I'll just speed up this so we can just get to the final output of the project itself. Okay, so guys, based on the output now again, okay, it means we also start again with put all the previous names and stuff, names and names of all the people. Now basically here right now we got the output. So the output now is eventually, as you can see, students highest test score is a few of them. Williams Roland score is 96, but not as great as this. Also surname of Morgan Rain scores also is 96, also got this. So basically based on what we've seen right now here, the output is justifiable, but I want to show you guys something that I did before, like what happened eventually from this. So if I just close this and go to this here, okay, if you look at this implementation eventually here, I added now another line of code. Let me see, I modified this line of code here. Say now, okay, also include the test score, the highest test score, yeah, and but it'll be the score eventually, and also grade of the student though as a means of output to make it much more simplified, because before it was only displaying from this point here the highest test score of students, which of course is fine, but we need to be specific about like the name of the student, the last name of the student, the first name of the student, also now his score he got, and also his grade eventually from this. So based on that modification of this line of code in the E7 here, managed to give us an output eventually, as you can see there. And also remember, we also included now in the function declaration of assign grades here also this int high test score, just to make sure that we can also try to output that here also as a means of grading the students eventually test score. So guys, based on this implementation of this eventually here, the code now is on point. And guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a very long video. So basically, business implementation right now here, the program does what we need eventually from this. So guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment down below and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you.